Today, I want to talk about Judges 11, the story of Jephthah. You'll hear me speak today and in this video of several theologians, so check out the notes or the description to see more about these references. Back to Judges 11. This is one of those passages that people rush to explain away, soften, or sometimes even spiritualize. Scripture does not do that. It lets the story stand because the story is doing ethical work. Judges is not interested in protecting our comfort. It's interested in exposing how people reason when God is no longer the functional authority. Jephthah is introduced as a capable leader. He is a warrior, an outcast, a man shaped by rejection, instability, and survival. Before battle, Jephthah makes a vow to God. If you give me the victory, whatever comes out of my house, I will offer as a burnt offering. And you can see this in Judges 11, 30 through 31. God grants the victory. Then Jephthah's daughter comes out to meet him. The text never says that God requires this vow. It never says God approved it. It never intervenes to stop it. Scripture simply records what happens next. Robert Chisholm notes that Jephthah's vow reflects a pagan-style bargaining rather than a covenant faith. This is not obedience shaped by Torah. It is negotiation shaped by fear. And Jephthah treats God as a power to be managed, not a Lord to be trusted. From an ethical standpoint, Jephthah is operating within a teleological framework. His reasoning is outcome driven. If the result is victory, then the means are justified. And as Ray explains in Moral Choices, consequentialist ethics evaluates actions based on the results rather than obedience to moral authority. The problem is not that Jephthah wants victory. The problem is that victory becomes the measure of righteousness. His ethical reasoning is not shaped by God's character. It's shaped by survival logic. There's also an element of ethical egoism at work. Although the vow sounds sacrificial, it ultimately protects Jephthah's position, leadership, and security. His success is preserved. The cost is transferred downward. Ethical egoism collapses precisely here. When self-preservation governs moral reasoning, someone else always pays. Spronk and Telstra point out that Judges 11 resist heroic readings of Jephthah. The narrative structure exposes the logic of the vow without endorsing it. The tragedy is not accidental. It's instructional. Now contrast this with Jephthah's daughter. She does not argue outcomes. She does not calculate benefits. She responds with loyalty, submission, and courage. From an ethical standpoint, she operates within a virtue-based framework. Her actions are morally praiseworthy in character, but Scripture does not present her virtue as redemptive. Her goodness does not undo injustice done to her, and this matters. Gilligan's work on moral injury helps name what we see here. Moral injury occurs when people participate in or are subject to violations of what should never be violated, especially under authority pressure. Jephthah is not ignorant. He is fractured. His grief reveals collapse, not righteousness. And Steibert presses the ethical weight further when Jephthah's daughter bears the cost of the vow she never made. This is what happens when authority is misordered, when ethics detached from God's character. Power always flows downward, and the vulnerable absorb the cost. I think that this is an identity hierarchy failure. Jephthah's functional authority is not Yahweh's word, it's fear, performance, transactional control. Instead of asking, "Who is my Lord?" Jephthah asks, "What can I offer to secure an outcome?" That's not faith. That's negotiation. God does not require the vow, but God allows the fruit of misordered allegiance to speak. And this is why Judges is not a book of heroes, it's a book of exposure. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes, and the cost kept escalating. Judges 11 does not ask us to admire Jephthah, it asks us to learn. Outcome-driven ethics always puts something else on the throne. And when God is no longer Kyros, someone else pays. The lesson is not be careful what you vow. The lesson is do not let fear become your authority. Scripture lets the consequences stand, and it invites us to examine who is really ruling before we act.